Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm author and speaker Sara R. Turnquist.
And I'm Cindy Smith.
Welcome for the first time to our actually officially joint podcast, Soul and Story. If you were paying attention to the intro, you noticed that we have selected a new logo. We are so thrilled and touched by the many responses weighing in on our selection. And we feel that Soul and Story is a great way to incorporate our breadth of topics and the way that we discuss them. We will continue in our Monday musing style each week of talking about the importance of something. But I did want to take a second and ask Cindy if she would show y'all the logo so you can see it more closer up. I work with words for a living. More closer up.
All right, I'm trying to add. How do I add it? Oh, there it goes. There you go. Yay!
Yay!
For some
Isn't
reason,
it so
technology is not working with me this morning.
Yes, one of the comments that we got was about how I do Monday mugs on my social media and how that's really a part of what we do and who I am. And so we added the coffee cup there, and I love the image with the heart. It just really adds something to the fact that we're talking about things of the heart and things that touch our heart and things that move our hearts. And the
Absolutely.
pen, of course, really speaks to the fact that Cindy and I are both writers.
Yes.
So I love it. And I hope that you love it too. Drop something in the comments to let us know whether you love it or if you don't like it. Just you can put that in the comments too, or you can just keep it to yourself.
Right. Yeah,
Either way.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what are we talking about today, Cindy?
Well, today we are talking about the importance of making your bed. That's
Wow.
because it's I've lately seen a lot of discussion like, do you make your bed every day? And if like how if you make your bed, this happens. It's just been a topic that keeps coming up in my social media feed. So I thought we could talk about it today.
Yeah. The question I would have though, is it in your social media feed because you've been talking about it and our phones are listening to us?
Yeah, that could be it too. In fact, I'm surprised about the things that I talk to somebody about, and then it just shows up the next like time I
Yeah.
get on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I have to confess, this is confession time. Let's all take a moment. I confess that about 80% of the time, my husband makes the bed. It's just part of our morning routine. He does it while I'm washing my face, brushing my teeth, and whatnot. It just has become the flow to our morning. But if for some reason he can't because he's helping the kids out or something like that, I follow up my morning ablutions with the making of the bed.
Yeah.
So, Cindy, why do you think it's important to make your bed, or what is your routine in the morning?
That is yeah, usually I get up after Sean, so I make the bed. But we have a rule that whoever is the last person in bed makes it. So if he
Mhm.
like on Sunday mornings, I leave to go to church before he does. So he usually makes the bed afterwards. And I grew up that was making the bed was just something that you did. It was part of my
Mhm.
routine, my chores, if you will. And I have continued doing it as an adult because I just feel like it starts my day off on the right foot. I will say, like this morning, I had a late night last night. We had a ministry event for a ministry that I'm involved in. Shout out to Mom Life, and I didn't get home. I didn't get home until like 10, almost 10:30 last night.
Mm.
Um, and I was so tired, and I woke up early. I couldn't go back to sleep, and it was so tempting to not make my bed. I usually, as soon as I get up, I pull the sheets all the way, like the cover top sheets off. And while I'm brushing
Mhm.
my teeth and getting my hair ready, doing my hair and all that stuff, I kind of let the bed breathe or air out. And then before I leave my bedroom, I make it because I'm not tempted to get back in the bed. But this morning, I'm like, oh, maybe I won't make the bed. And when I get home from what I'm doing with Sarah today, I might go back to bed. But I'm like, nope, Nope, I
Mm.
have a lot of stuff to do, so I'm not gonna do that.
That's a really good point. As someone who has struggled with severe depression in the past, having the bed made definitely makes it less of a temptation to crawl back under the covers, and I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe you just don't wanna unmake the bed to get into it in the middle of the day, or maybe it makes you think twice about the decision to go back to bed. But, there were days that I spent literally all day, days on end in bed when I was in the depth of the depression. But I do wonder, going back to making your bed, I wonder if it's not as much that you should make your bed as it is that we're kind of pointing out the type of people who generally make their bed as a practice, for
Mhm.
better or worse. I think that those kinds of people tend to be higher speed, more productive people. And again, not that that's a better person or a worse person, it's just a part of who these folks are. I do like, for me, that making my bed starts my day off on a clean foot, if you will, but not everyone feels that way, and that's fine. It's a little strange to me that the habit of making your bed every day doesn't necessarily make or indicate that that person is a tidy or neat person. It's just something that they do as part of their morning routine and they like to do as part of their morning routine. I grew up in a house that was a little more cluttered, but I remember my parents made their bed every day. So it's just, for some people, that is a habit, like you're saying, it's very important. But Cindy, you did some research, right, on the
I
prevalence
did.
of people who make their bed?
I did, and about it says that about 70% of Americans make their bed every day or almost every day. Um,
Mm,
about 30 according to a YouGov poll, they said about 37 Americans always 37%, not 37 Americans. That would be a very small number, but
mm,
37% make their bed every day. And another 19% report to doing it often, while 20% do it sometimes and 14% rarely.
mm,
Um, Only 7% say they never make their beds. Americans over 55 are more likely to make their beds at 81%. Millennials, those between 18 and 24 and 25 and 34, are less likely to make their beds regularly. And people who earn over $80,000 a year are more likely to make their beds than not.
hmm,
Um, and that's about 82%. And then there's possible benefits. Studies suggest that making your bed can lead to a sense of accomplishment and a feeling of order, and it can reduce stress and improve mood. When we were moving back from China, Sean was here in the States first. He came back and received a part of our all of our furniture that had been in storage. He received that at our new house, and he said the first day he got up and he didn't make his bed or didn't make the bed. And he said he didn't like the feeling that night of getting into bed with the sheets all crumpled. And he said that after that,
mm.
he just felt better every morning making the bed before he went to work and coming home at night into a nice orderly bed. He said it really did make him feel like his day was better.
Yeah. And I think back to what you were saying about that feeling of accomplishment, feeling of order, reduction of stress, and improved mood. I do agree with that as a person who makes my bed. I think it's a huge benefit. I just generally like how it makes the bed more inviting, like
Mhm.
Sean was saying, and it makes the room feel, I don't know, ready for the day. I
Yes.
just think that that is super duper helpful. Are there certain times that you don't make the bed?
Um, well, if I'm sick and I'm gonna be staying in bed, um, I will not make the bed, and there will be times where I'm running late. And
Mhm.
honestly, I have the bed made in, like, 2 minutes. It's not a too
Right.
involved thing, but if I am really running late, I will not make the bed, but when I get back
Mhm.
home, if it's early enough in the day, I'll make it just because
Mhm.
it's just, I see the bed and I don't feel like it's complete. My day is not complete unless it's made. What about you? Do you have times when you don't make the bed?
Well, I almost didn't make it this morning. It's funny that you said that earlier. I thought about it. Greg, it was one of those mornings that Greg was really busy, so he didn't get it made during my morning ablutions. And so I had the thought, I knew we were talking about this today. And so I thought, let me leave it unmade and just see how it goes. However, I could not make myself leave the room without making the bed. It just, my morning routine didn't feel complete. Isn't that weird how that happens?
Yeah. With some,
Yeah,
and I
it's such
think,
a strange thing.
you and I both have struggled with struggle with depression and anxiety. And I
Mhm.
think really and truly that piece of making our bed kind of helps the mood, and it helps
Mm.
feel like for me, I feel like my day is less chaotic because when I go in my room and I see that the bed is made and my bedroom is in order, it becomes a place of tranquility. It becomes a place where I can
Mm.
just go,
Yeah, and isn't that how we all wanna feel about the primary bedroom, about our bedroom? We want it to be like a place that we can go to and get away from some of the chaos, some of the strangeness, some of the weirdness in the world. We just want a place where we can just, like you're saying, just breathe deeply. It's
mhm.
interesting though. I follow a podcast called Bema. It's amazing, but that's another story for another time. That's another soul and story episode right there. But one of the interesting tidbits that relates to what we're talking about is that the teacher on the podcast, his name is Marty Solomon, and he was talking about his Sabbath observance. And he mentioned that a part of his observance is to not make his bed,
Oh, wow.
and that it does kind of grate on him a little bit, but that discomfort on the Sabbath when he sees the unmade bed draws his thoughts toward God and the gift of rest. As many of you may already know, Sabbath begins on Friday evening for observing Jews. And I always thought that was curious until I learned that it is not that rest comes at the end of the day as a reward for our work, but that we are gifted rest because of who we are in God and who He created us to be as His children. He
Mhm.
gifted us rest from the beginning of creation, and we work out of the rest that we are gifted. There's nothing that we need to do to earn it.
Mhm.
God's given it to us because He loves us and He knows that we need it. Our bodies need it, our minds need it, and our souls need it. So
Absolutely.
perhaps in some way, follow me on this. For
Okay.
some people, making the bed is the break between our rest and our work.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
because when you think about it, work is a gift too from God. God told Adam to tend the garden before the curse. The curse just brought on that God said that it would be by the sweat of Adam's brow that he would now work to gain food from the earth. But the
Mhm.
work itself was part of the gift of the garden, tending the garden, tending the animals, all of those things.
Mm.
So I like thinking of the cycle that way, that God
Yeah.
has given me rest, and then I'm working out of the rest, not earning my next rest. And I think in our culture, we struggle with that a lot, with the feeling of, I've got to work really hard to earn a good
Right.
rest,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
how many times do we say or hear other people say, "I will rest as soon as I get X done," you know?
Hmm.
And I think we don't realize, like you were saying, just the importance of I rest so that I can give my all to my work or whatever it
Yeah.
is that God has called you to do. You know,
Yeah.
um, I think of the young moms that have little ones and they don't rest enough because they feel like they have to constantly be
Mhm.
doing for their kids. Or um, for me, I have to get all my things, all my checklists done before I can rest. Um, I
Mhm.
do on Sundays, I like to take a nap. I sometimes will nap. I've gotten to the point where I don't necessarily nap every day during the week.
Mhm.
But on Sundays, when I get home from church, I don't get in my bed. I lay on top
Mhm.
of the bed with a blanket, but I will take a nap for like an hour.
Mm.
And that's just part of that's my Sunday ritual because for me, I feel like that's my Sabbath.
Yeah. And I think it's important, even though we are not observing Jews in the same way, but it is important that we observe a Sabbath because it reminds us to trust. Because it takes a level of trust to rest and then work out of the rest and then take a rest, even if your work isn't done.
Yeah.
It's a trusting that I don't have to accomplish or produce to be loved, to be gifted this rest. And it's a trust that he's going to take care of it because the Bible also tells us that there's enough hours in the day to do the things that we need to do. And how often in our culture do we really believe that? But I think
Not
our
very well.
culture, yeah, yeah. I think our culture struggles with this drive towards self-reliance and self-sufficiency. And that's all well and good, but it is kind of counter to the way God teaches us to treat him, that we are relying on him, we are trusting him, we are letting, not letting, but we are recognizing that he is our sufficiency, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, because,
Yeah.
um, it is a lie that we can do it all, and he rested, and so he's wanting us to through that relationship with him, he wants to give us that rest.
Absolutely. And I like what you said about young, not young mamas necessarily, but new mamas, mamas of
Yeah,
young kids is how I should say it.
yes,
Or how I will say it. Um, it is in our culture. It's this joke that it's this time where you just don't get enough sleep, and it's a joke because it's true. It's based on truth. There is a there is a perpetual lack of sleep in our culture. In other cultures, the village comes around the mama, and the mama doesn't deal with sleep deprivation in the same way because there are others that help come alongside her and take care of the kids and provide meals and things like that. And you don't see postpartum depression in the same way in these places because the mama is not sleep deprived, the mama is not running herself ragged trying to take care of a baby and a toddler and then an elementary schooler or two toddlers and a baby or
yeah,
just whatever. And so you did a plug for Mom Life, but I'm going to do another one. I think it's so important for us, especially in the church, as brothers and sisters in Christ, to come alongside each other and to provide that as much as we can in our cultural context. It's not going to look the same as it would in one of these smaller villages, but it can look
yeah,
like support and encouragement and all of these other things. And so, Mom Life is a wonderful organization that is done through a faith based situation. That any church, if you, hey mamas, if you are in a church and you want to have this kind of support group, reach out to Mom Life Ministries and see what it would take for you to all the materials are provided for you, the videos are provided for you, and so you can get that cup of, I'm just going to cry, you can
yeah,
get that cup of cold water
yeah,
that is so needed from reliable sources, from truthful sources, from God loving, God trusting sources. And
absolutely.
I'm gonna tell the story about when I was in postpartum depression the second time. I was in a MOPS group, and Mom Life is kind of similar to MOPS. It's a little bit more. Well, I would say it's a lot more in the Word, and it's just structured a bit differently. But if you have no other context, I think MOPS is the most similar thing that you can think of. But anyways, I was in a MOPS group, and I probably came 20% of the time because I was depressed and I needed, but I didn't know what I needed. And one of the ladies at my table, the mentor mom, the older mom at my table, she texted me without fail every week. And
Mm,
she hardly ever saw me. I would have it would have been so easy for her to just be like, well, she's obviously not coming anymore. But she felt the need to text me every week, and I that there were weeks that encouragement, that prayer, that support pulled me through that moment. And so, mamas, if there is a mom life near you, join it, look into it. You can start
yeah,
a virtual group if you're not in a church that can provide this for you, you can do Mom Life virtually. So
yeah,
I'm doing this huge plug for Mom Life. They are not paying me for this, and this
no,
is not a commercial. This is a resource
yeah,
that I think is so vital
yeah.
for the mama of young kids and the mama of older kids. We need support all the way along our mama journey. But hear me say this, you are not alone and you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. And kind of taking it back to like the importance of making the bed, which actually I think
Oh
was
yeah.
more about
We
like
were
the
talking
important.
about that, weren't we?
Well, no, I just think though, I mean, it does lead into rest and how I think, you
Mhm.
know, we wear this as a badge of honor saying, well, I can get by with
Yes.
little sleep. I only slept for 2 hours last night. It's like a badge of
Mhm.
honor. And that's
Yeah.
not how God created us to be. And
Mm.
whether you make your bed or not, you know, the point is finding a way to rest. And I love what you said about being in a we're meant to be in community. And I did
Mhm.
put the website address in our comments for Mom Life. And I do lead a virtual group. We'll be signing up again or sign up for our next year. We'll start this summer, I think in July. So if you even want to do if you don't want to lead a virtual group but want to be in a virtual group, it's I lead one, so go there and check that out. But um I think it we as mamas can support one another and encourage one another so that we don't feel overwhelmed and we don't feel tired.
Mhm.
I I have I'm almost an empty nester, and I feel like um some days I still need encouragement that I'm making
Mm.
the right decisions, or I'm pushing when I should, or I'm encouraging when I should. And it can be overwhelming
Mhm.
having adult children, you know?
Mhm.
Um, because you think it would get easier, but they're just bigger life problems than
Yeah.
when they're
I'm like,
fighting with their sibling,
uh,
that feels big, but then when they're an adult and they're like having their heart broken for
mhm.
the first time, it's like you can't anyway,
Mm.
so we need to lean on each other and find rest
Yeah,
through
it
our
is
relationships.
true. Yeah, it is true that the challenges just get different as you go through the children phases, the child phases. And as a mom of young kids, I found that a little discouraging because I was like, it's not going to get any better. Oh, there are things that get better, and then there are new challenges. Some of them are harder, and some of them are not.
Yeah,
So I definitely am loving this, and not that you don't love your phase of child rearing at any stage, but I am really finding a lot more peace in this stage where my kids are one of them's in high school, one's in middle school, and one's a fifth grader. And they're very independent in a lot of different ways. And so I'm getting a lot more sleep, for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, it's probably time for us to close off a little
Probably,
bit.
yes.
Do you have
Yeah.
any closing thoughts, Cindy?
Um, just that try to find pockets of rest in your life.
Mhm.
Real quick, if I heard a lady say, like, if you work with your mind, maybe you find rest doing physical labor. And if you do physical labor,
Mm,
sometimes you find rest in more intellectual pursuits. But resting doesn't necessarily have to be sleeping. It can. And when you if you need the sleep, but find rest for your soul so that you can go
Mhm.
forward and do what God has called you to do, to live out your
Mhm.
purpose, and to just be the man or woman God's called you to be.
Yeah, and before you close this out for reals,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick one more thing in here. I do wanna mention that making your bed is a habit, and habits and rhythms are wonderful things. They might take time to develop, you have to think about it, you have to start it, you have to do it over and over again, but the right habits and rhythms have huge payoffs. So just think about that over
Mhm.
the next day or two and see what you think
Yeah.
about developing a new rhythm in your life and tell us about it. Put
Yeah.
a note in the comments about I think I'm going to start doing this, whether it's making your bed or I'm going to start not making my bed. Whatever it is, just drop it in the
Yeah.
comments for us and that way we can pray for you as you start this new
Absolutely. And they
rhythm
say
or
it takes
habit.
21 days to create a new habit.
Mhm.
So less than a month.
I sure do. Yeah. Yeah, that seems crazy to me, but it is the consistency day after day, that is so difficult, but is so rewarding. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, great. I'm excited for this new journey we're on, Sarah.
I am too. I am too.
Yeah.
And I am so appreciative of everyone that tunes in. And we are praying for you. We are praying over every listener, every person across the little MP3 waves. I would
Yep.
say radio waves, but
Yeah.
let's face it, we don't listen to the radio very much anymore. We're
No.
all listening to MP3s or on demand or
Podcasts
whatever
or
digital, whatever,
yeah,
whatever.
absolutely.
But we are praying for you as this reaches your ears that God will bless you, that He will be with you. Even though I know those things are always true, I am praying for His hand over you, a hedge of protection around you, that He will go before you and behind you and enclose you with His righteous right hand.
Amen. Amen. Bye, ladies.
Mhm. Bye.